All right. Let's answer the question that people are asking tonight.
Okay.
Who'd you rather have the Padres sign? Martin Maldonado or Elias Diaz? We'll break it all down over the next 60 plus minutes. Thank you, Ben Fadden at Talking Friars, for that enthralling content. That's where we are in the offseason. Like we're in the dead of the winter for the Padres offseason, and we are here for you. Less than a week or about a week out from Christmas, and on the other side of the winter meetings and heading to 2025. So make your way in. We're here for you for the next hour. We'll talk about Roki Sasaki, who has been posted. There's less than a month until he can sign. Dylan Cease trade rumors, I guess, are out there right now. And the Padres have been eerily quiet, among the quietest teams in baseball, if not the quietest team in baseball, since the end of the postseason. So subscribe here on content for baseball and Padre fans. Smash the like button for us. You can follow us on X at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. We appreciate your support of the channel, especially here in the dead of winter, so to speak, on the wrap-up show. If you want to support the channel, click the $ below the chat box. We would appreciate your support. All the super chats we will get to. We'll pull them up on screen. Question, comment. You just want to support the channel, click the $ below the chat box. If you want to become a member, you can click the join button down below. But I mean, the winter meetings have come and gone. The Padres were not active in the slightest. I think the big takeaway is Sasaki. Let's see. And then Cease, like, is he a legitimate trade candidate right now, considering the Padres might need to make a move to stay under that CBT number in 2025?
So I titled, the video, "The Padres are very quiet." I also put on Twitter, will the Padres and AJ Preller make a move like ever again?
Right.
At JB Rad 619, who is a loyal follower of ours, he put out to me the moves last year and the timing of it.
Yeah,
it's interesting. But I also will say, like, the Juan Soto trade was pretty significant. Like, you can't just sweep that under the rug. It already happened 10 days ago, if you're looking at what the moves he made last year was. Now, Jurickson Profar, that happened in February. I just looked it up. Wandy Peralta didn't sign until February, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
February 9th, to be exact. Woo Suk Go, remember him? The great Woo Suk Go, signed January 3rd. Okay. So, yeah, you want to look at last year compared to this year. All right, we're kind of on the timeline of the moves that Preller made, but you can't overlook that Juan Soto trade and how significant of a trade it really was, and how significant of a move it was. Now, they don't have Juan Soto, but they do have Dylan Cease, who at this point in time, I think a lot of people would be maybe surprised if he's not traded. But other than that, like, nothing. You lost your starting catcher. I've heard nothing about Jurickson Profar. And no trades, no nothing. Like, okay.
But here's the thing, though. When we say it's eerily quiet, we don't think they're going to go into 2025 with no left fielder, no catcher.
Oh, no, they will. They
throw
will.
the ball to the backstop. But here's the point. So Preller will make the moves that are necessary.
Yes.
That doesn't discount the fact that other teams have been absurdly active, and it's probably enjoyable to be a fan of the New York Yankees right now, or the New York Mets, or the LA Dodgers. And if you're a fan of the Padres, you have the bitter taste of the way 2024 ended. And then you just have, like, silence on the other end of the phone. Now, of course, they're going to make moves. I mean, that's one thing that AJ Preller is assured to do. He's as active as basically any GM over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just like you would have liked to have something prior to the holidays, just for a glimmer of hope. I get it. You could make a move January 7th that could impact you in a positive way and could help you win 93 games. You could do it February 7th, or shoot, you could do it March 7th. Look at the Dylan Cease deal. But I'm just saying, like, coming off 2024 and seeing what the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees have done, and there are others, by the way, but those are the three, big ones. It'd just be nice if they did something. That's just my point. Now, again, does that even mean anything? No. it's more of a marketing vehicle than anything else, like to give a shot into the arm of your fan base. Like, hey, we're here and we understand that it was a disappointment the way last year ended, but we're not going anywhere. And we think we can vie again. And here's why. And maybe that's Roki Sasaki, Jim. I mean, maybe they have to be quiet because it's like there are two paths they can take. There's a fork in the road, not literally. And one of the forks is if we get Sasaki, this is the offseason we're going to have. If we don't get Sasaki, this is the offseason we're going to have. I think that's at least a possibility. And, we'd have to wait that out for 4 weeks to know the answer on that.
Maybe that's what a lot of teams are thinking. Maybe a lot of teams who think that they can get Roki Sasaki are like kind of maybe waiting it out. But again, it's another thing that baseball doesn't capitalize on, which is their free agency period. Like the second that midnight hits for NFL free agency, you get like every top guy has found a home. Like rarely do you see, and again, it's not really doesn't really happen a lot in the NFL because there's a salary cap, and if a team drafts somebody and that player turns out to be an all-pro, that team locks that player up. They don't let that guy go to free agency. But on the off chance that there is an all-pro that hits free agency, that dude is signed somewhere the second free agency begins, and it's a frenzy. Like you don't see top guys holding out until August or September, right? In baseball, guys can get signed during spring training. We've seen that happen multiple times.
True, although we've seen some big signings. You're right. It's not the same with those sports. You don't get all the movement right away. But I mean, Soto signing basically prior to the winter meetings, right? The Sunday night before the winter meetings, I think it was pretty significant.
It was.
And then
There's
seeing
Blake Snell, obviously.
Blake Snell was well before that. Yeah, I mean, there's been significant moves. Here's the thing.
Willie Adames?
In baseball, though, the moves don't have national buzz like the other sports. There's two moves with national buzz. Soto, it was absolutely relevant and, transcended, so to speak, the sports calendar for the day. And Roki Sasaki is going to be a big move in baseball, and that's going to draw interest from sports fans in general. Outside of that, man, Corbin Burns, I get it. He's a great pitcher. Are they leading SportsCenter with it? I don't even think they're leading SportsCenter with Roki Sasaki. Yeah. But, there's only a couple of names that are going to resonate with sports fans this offseason. One of them is Soto. And the other, I think, is Roki Sasaki. I mean, your point's valid in general. I mean, baseball off seasons aren't, we used to get excited for the hot stove. And I think there's some relevancy because Preller is such a madman and he has won off seasons, and the Padres have been relevant in off seasons. But for a lot of fan bases, nothing happens in the off season by and large. I still think something of substance is happening, whether it's still in Cease on the way out. I'm not necessarily an advocate for it, but it's at least a possibility because there are payroll issues. And then there's Roki. So, there's still sizable chips out there. Roki is the biggest. Moving Cease is a significant chip, potentially. You could argue its merits. But, I'd be very surprised if the offseason is Martin Maldonado, backup outfielder to vie for a spot, and then just let Matt Waldron fight for, the fifth spot and Randy Vasquez fight for the fourth spot or whatever it's going to be. There's going to be more movement than that.
Yeah, he's going to make moves eventually. In the next month and a half, there will be multiple moves.
Yeah,
there will be multiple moves. It's just kind of waiting out process, and I don't really know. Here's the thing: I don't know the direction of the team. I don't know what direction they're going to go. And yes, we've had many write-ups from Kevin and Dennis and Cassavel, but until he makes that move, I don't know the direction. Is it the direction of we're going to definitively trade Dylan Cease? Or are you going to trade Luis Ariz? Or are you going to try to lock these dudes up? Or are you, I don't know. That's where I'm kind of at right now. Last year, you knew it. Once the Soto deal happened, you knew, all right, this is the direction of the team. I don't know what that direction is right now, even though I kind of know it, but I don't know it. If that makes sense.
It does. The issue that the Padres are running into with their fan base is there's a perception out there that the dollars matter more than the on-field result. Fair or unfair? I mean, that's a strong thing to say about a team that just drew 3.2 million fans. But the perception is they're looking at Excel spreadsheets to determine how far in they can, quote unquote, go in 2025. I don't know if that's fair or not, but like you see what they say about Eric Senda, and we all understand what the offseason has looked like so far, which is like, will they trade Luis Ariz? Will they trade Dylan Cease? They can't go over the CBT in 2025. So it feels like dollars and cents are being prioritized over winning. And that's a tough thing to hear for a fan base that has been so loyal in the 2020s with these 3 million fans each of the last couple of years. And, they're good seasons. 2022 and 2024 were good seasons. So, like, they're going to have to go prove to some people. I don't think all people. Listen, they've sold a lot of tickets. I'm sure there's a lot of season ticket holders. There's wait lists. I hear the ads. But they're going to have to prove to some faction of the fan base that they are fully committed. And I don't think you can necessarily prove that by trading Dylan Cease and not landing Roki Sasaki. Like, you're going to have to do something beyond that this offseason to win over at least a portion of the fan base, not all of the fan base. But, again, that perception didn't exist under Peter Seidler. It was like, we'll do everything in our power against all odds. We're not worried about financials. Financials be damned. All we care about is winning a World Series. That isn't necessarily how Padres fans are feeling right now heading into 2025.
Well, I think coming off a 93-win season, like, goes a little bit of a way. It's not like they're coming off of a 69-win season. They came off a really, really good regular season with a lot of hope, and it unfortunately came crashing down very quickly. But doesn't take away from the fact that they played the best baseball like in franchise history for a 3-month span or a 2-month span.
But like, where do you go from there? My point is where other organizations seemingly would then make the financial commitments to put the thing over the top. It feels like the Padres are actually stepping out of the water in this exact moment. I mean, the roster's not going to look anything like it looked in 2024. And if you trade Dylan Cease and you don't have, I mean, you're talking about some real change. I mean, you're going to have some, and again, I guess that happens with all teams, but I mean,
well, that's what they did in 2023. They came off an NLCS run and they, even went more all in, like following up we all remember that, like following up an NLCS run, beating the Dodgers in the postseason, getting, 3 wins away from reaching the World Series, and you go out and make a big splash and sign Xander Bogaerts. It's like, oh my God, that's freaking go. Is this the move that's going to take him over the top? Now, unfortunately, that move is going to sink the ship potentially because it's an awful, awful contract because Xander Bogaerts is a complete shell of himself. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're going to go out and make a splashy move other than Roki Sasaki. That's the only move they can make that I think would be that move to really energize the fan base going into next season. Other than that, nothing. The only other move is you re-sign Profar, that'd be great, but at what price? And then if you do end up trading Cease, hope you get a good return.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need a really good return. I mean, you also have to ask yourself, like you said, they won 93 games. They played the best baseball maybe in the history of the franchise for 2 months. Are you going to do that again? Going to go
tough
40 and 11 or whatever they did. I have no clue.
They've made postseasons in back-to-back years one time in franchise history. That kind of worries me a little bit.
Remind me of those, 05, 06?
05, 06.
Yeah, that's been a while.
And those teams weren't like amazing either.
Like 80 something games.
Yeah.
Paul, appreciate the first super of the night, guys. If you are here, subscribe. You're on content for you in season and out of season. And thank you for the super chats. Really do appreciate them.
Thanks,
here
Paul.
in the off season. You can click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of them. Question, comment. Just want to support the show and our work. Paul, thank you, man. Happy holidays. He says, could it just be that they have financial realities that they have to deal with? I think that's spot on. Maybe they just don't have Peter Seidler resources anymore. Yeah, I think ultimately it does come down to that. I mean, they are running a business like most people are doing, right? It's not monopoly money. There are real realities, and they're not Steve Cohen, and they don't have Steve Ballmer owning the team, and they're not an NFL franchise. Could they spend more? I'm sure they could. Will they spend more is the real question. And the truth is they're probably paying for some of their overspend right now. Like they overspent clearly in like 21, 22, 23, and they now have to deal with the reality maybe of that, of paying down some type of debt. But yeah, I think they have financial realities. I think like 27 of the teams in baseball have financial realities. And I would say that the Padres are probably one of those 27 teams.
And it's really not even going out and spending like big time money. It's almost just like, where's the activity a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's the vision of 2025 that you can present to the fans? What is it going to be? And that's the biggest question mark now. Is we've read all this stuff, and it's really not even a certainty that they're going to trade Dylan Cease. I mean, Dennis Lin wrote, somebody, was it Dennis Lin or Kevin? Might have been Dennis, that their preference is to not trade Dylan Cease.
There was Dennis.
Yeah. So we don't even know if that's what they're going to do. It's just out there because it was at the winter meetings, and Preller talks to literally everybody, and then someone told reporters like, "Hey, Preller is asking around about what he could get for Dylan Cease." And maybe it's a due diligence thing. I don't know. Getting like, preparing yourself for like going into the season with Dylan Cease, and if things go awry, then you can come back around at the trade deadline. And I don't know what the direction going into 2025 will be with this team, because there's been no moves to indicate what they plan on doing. Do they plan on building out the rest of the roster through trades? Do they plan on waiting until the market dies down and signing the scraps and hoping they turn out like Profar and Solano and Peralta? Do they plan on trading Dylan Cease and trying to get much prospects back as possible? Are they going to re-sign some guys? Like, I don't know, dude. I have no idea.
All right, so there are 61 votes in a poll that I put up here at the top of the live chat. Will the Padres ever make a move again? And 55% of the 62 votes now say the Padres will not
won't
make a move again. So it's not just me and Jim that are. And by the way, it's not that I don't think anyone's pessimistic. I just think it's discouraging. Like, it's not pessimistic about 2025. And by the way, anyone that tells you they know what's going to happen in 2025 is lying through their teeth. I mean, we thought we knew something after 2020. We didn't. And we thought we knew something maybe opposite after 2021, and we didn't, and so on and so forth. I mean, this thing has gone back and forth now all decade long. And to Jim's point, they haven't made the postseason in consecutive years. And they got to go prove that they're capable of doing that under AJ Preller. And maybe they're going to do that this year. I mean, I think they got at least a good enough shot of reaching the postseason, but could I be convinced that out of the National League, contenders, that they're on the outside looking in when you look at Philadelphia and the Mets and whatever will happen in the Central and the Giants and the Dodgers? I mean, and Arizona was in the World Series 2 years ago and has a higher payroll than the Padres. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's some formality is the point. Like, everyone would have told me in 2021 they're making the playoffs. Everyone would have told me in 2023 they're making the playoffs. So I can't sit here on December 17th and tell you definitively that the Padres are going to make the playoffs, even though they won 93 games in 2024. All right, let's get back to some of these super chats, guys. We appreciate you. Click the $ below the chat box. We'll get to all of them. Richard, thank you for your support of the channel. Loyal viewer, although a Dodger fan, but we thank you. He says, ownership has taken away AJ's credit card. Those huge contracts are killing you. In the end, the San Diego fan base is the big loser, 60 sellouts and record attendance. You're pinning hopes on Roki. I mean, I don't think the fan base is a loser in this, and I think the Padres could be very good in 2025. I just am saying more like it's a little bit of a wait and see. That's how I see it right now.
Yeah, and they have a really good core of this team. If they do end up not trading Dylan Cease and they keep majority of these guys and they do make some trades with some of their prospects to bring in some help to fill these positions, you're talking, and say they do get Roki, like, really good rotation if that happens, a really good top end of the lineup, superstar players with Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. Those guys can stay, healthy, then that's a pretty good, middle of your lineup there. Luis Arise, he wakes up hitting 300. And I think the bullpen with Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, that's a really good back end right there. And they have other pieces in their bullpen as well. But that's a pretty decent team. That's a pretty good team. But I don't know if they can do that because that would require them to probably go past the CBT. That ain't happening.
I don't see that. I mean, I hope I'm wrong because we've spent the whole offseason saying that it doesn't appear likely they're going over the CBT. And if they do, I'll give them credit for doing it. And I said this today, and you kind of backed me up on it, that if the Padres somehow take a step back and it becomes overwhelmingly clear that they had financial limitations that impacted AJ Preller's ability to make moves in the offseason, then I'm not going to put the whole thing on Preller. Like I'm not going to go down the trap of oh my gosh, look at some of these moves. They didn't work out. I mean, I'm sorry, like Jeremiah Estrada type deals aren't going to work out every year. Donovan Solano type deals aren't going to work out. Peralta deals aren't always going to work out. So like you can buy low and hit home runs, Profar, Peralta, Solano, Estrada, or you could just sign guys that are fringe major leaguers. So you're really asking a lot of AJ Preller if he doesn't have any money to work with. I'm not saying make it blank check. I mean, there's somewhere in between. But if they take a step back, I'm not going to put the whole thing on AJ Preller if I see that they don't have money. And that's if that becomes abundantly clear throughout the course of the offseason and season.
Yeah, 2018 through 2023, he was given maybe more resources than 90% of teams in baseball. Like
certainly from like 2021 or 2020.
Well, I was talking about 2018 because they signed
Hosmer.
That,
I mean, by grand scheme, I don't know where that really put them. Where were they in payroll in 2018? Couldn't have been higher than 15th, right?
Still, they busted out almost $50 million contract, and the following year in 2019, you signed Manny to $300 million. Like
that's when it got real.
When you sign Manny, you're giving you're like you got a pretty big checkbook there, and then pandemic happened. I can't really do it, whatever. And then there was a lockout, after that, and that was tough. But for that period of time, like that was on Preller. That was on Preller because he was given the green light to make a lot of these moves.
I think this is
What?
I was just gonna say, like, I think it's so lazy. Like JD's third. AJ had one good year out of 10, yet John is giving him a pass. Like, how could you possibly say you could be the biggest AJ Preller critic? How could you say he's had one good year? 2022 by Padres standards wasn't a good year. Like, give me a break.
Traded for Juan
Soto. In 2024 by Padres standards wasn't a good year. 2 of the last 3 years are 2 of the top, let's say, 6 years ever.
Right.
So don't tell me he's had one good year. Now you can be critical, and we are. But you can't be overly critical of AJ Preller right now, and you can't be overly critical of AJ Preller if he's dealing with headwinds from his own organization. He's led them to the postseason. He's given them a chance to win 2 of the last 3 World Series. It's not on him they didn't win them. Like, it's just not. I'm not saying they had the best roster in 2022. I don't think they did with the Clevenger-Manaea situation with the back of the rotation. Okay. And I think you could make an argument in 2024 they had the best team. Now, they didn't win it. That's fair. I'm not arguing that. But don't tell me that Preller hasn't basically exceeded expectations with 2 of his last 3 teams. And 2023 was super disappointing. We spent a whole year on it. But if we're going to be critical of AJ Preller in 2023, then you should be giving him flowers, freaking bouquets of flowers for 2022 and 2024.
Yeah, dude, fucking knocked it out of the park in 2024. Like, how many moves did he make that turned out to be bad? Like Wusa Go. Okay, you ended up trading him away in the Luis Ariz deal.
Right.
Like, who cares? Juan Peralta. Really? Right. I mean, that's the one move that you're like, that's bad.
Yeah.
But everything else, home run after home run after home run. And yeah, I mean, you give him the benefit of the doubt when you have that good of year. You have to. Now, can you back that up and do that again? But if he doesn't do that again, to our point, is like, well, how much is it going to be on Preller when he's not given any, like, leeway here from the ownership group to maybe go out and do things, he's got to stay within these parameters because they don't want to go over that CBT.
Right. I mean, there's just so many like let me just find this one comment here. He's just like, hold on. Not from JD's third. There's before that. Stand by. Oh yeah, like Johnny says, thank you, because they have never won the chip. John, be real. That's the expectation here. Then what? Okay, so the expectation here. By the way, when I say, hey, it's World Series or bust, or I would take a World Series and then trade that for the next 10 years of winning 69 games.
Yeah.
But AJ Preller didn't have a good 2024 because they didn't win the World Series. That's laughable. AJ Preller didn't have a good 2022 because they didn't win the World Series. That's not even the expectation here. I go to these games. I watch them. There's 3 million people there. The expectation heading into 2024 was not to win a World Series. It might have been in 2023. And honestly, I don't even think it was. So like, this isn't the Yankees. Like, the expectation heading into the year was not to win a World Series. They never had a better chance of winning the World Series heading into 2024 than the LA Dodgers. And they didn't win the World Series. But like, yeah, at the end of the day, I've said it. Manny Machado's time in San Diego, he has to win a World Series. You don't sign someone to a $300 million deal twice and then not get to a World Series or win one, or let alone get to one. But because a team doesn't make a World Series isn't a poor reflection on their general manager if they're in the postseason. And if you think it is, you are on the wrong path.
The goal is to win the World Series. The expectation is to be a competitor and compete and be in the postseason consistently. That's how I view it. Like, I thought in 2023, after making the move for Xander and having Soto and the payroll being a top 3 payroll in baseball, that was the closest to like the expectation here is World Series. Because if you don't, that's a massive failure. But now when you're 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th in payroll,
like, I hate to, like, you got unrealistic expectations, Johnny, if you think every year in San Diego's World Series are bust. Because you're heading into
almost 70 years of bust.
You're heading into this thing so far behind the 8 ball. I mean, to put it bluntly, like, that's the beauty of the postseason, that you can actually win a series against a team that's heavily favored like LA. 2022, the Padres beat the heavily favored Dodgers. That's the beauty of baseball. That ain't happened in the NBA, man. If the Dodgers are the 1 seed in the NBA and you're the 8 seed, good luck. But in baseball, you can actually win those series. So, yeah, I mean, you could hope. I mean, hope springs eternal. But the expectation is, I mean, if you think the Padres are going to be favored to win a World Series in 2025, then I got something to sell you, because you're way off base. Debbie, thank you. And no, but appreciate the super. We could talk about it at some point. Let's go get Trevor Bauer. We're not at that point in the offseason.
It's not even that we're not at that point. It's just not going to happen. Like, I just want people to realize when they start asking their team to go sign Trevor Bauer, no team in baseball is signed Trevor Bauer. So it's been what, 3 years? 2 years? 3 years?
3 years. Yeah. It's been a while.
If he ain't signed now, he ain't going to get signed.
I'm sure that'll be great in the clubhouse that they've established to be a positive one over the last year. I'm sure that's just what they need. The missing piece. It's not happening. Although people have been clamoring for it for 2 years. All right, we're going to get back to the conversation in a moment. Appreciate the super chats. We'll get to all of them. It's getting a little spicy here on this December 17th night. Padres are doing nothing, and Padres fans are taking that out on John and Jim. We do want to thank our title sponsor here on the wrap-up show. I actually talked to him earlier today. Jim didn't, I would presume, but Mark called me. Did he call you?
No.
That's great. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance is an amazing insurance agent. Take it from us. I've had homeowners, life insurance, earthquake insurance through Mark for years, and he can save you time and money. And he's a great insurance agent if you ever need him. And he's a huge Padres fan, and he's a native San Diegan, and he's a longtime supporter of the channel. He's been with us since day one. So that's 3.5 years of the wrap-up show on YouTube. If you have an insurance need, click the link in the description down below. Let him take care of you. Auto, home, renter's life, free quotes online, or free quotes by calling Mark. You call Mark, I'll talk to you about the Padres. longer than he'll probably talk to you about your insurance. But if you ever need him, I needed him in 2022. He's there for you. He could save you so much time and money if you ever have to file a claim. So if you support the channel, please support our title sponsor, The Wrap Up Show, a San Diego and a lifelong Padres fan, Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.
Yeah, all this information is on the ticker below. Nimitz at farmersagent.com. When you reach out to Mark, let him know that John and Jim from The Wrap Up Show sent you.
All right, JD's third, thank you. For the Super, he says, AJ could spend say winning World Series is his job. I'd like him to do his job. 10 years is a long time. Arizona World Series in 2023. They didn't win shit. Giants win division. AJ could, hold on. Goalposts are everywhere here. JD's third. Every team's goal is to win the World Series. He's been here 10 years. He hasn't won a World Series. What about the other 15 GMs in the history of the franchise? To Jim's point, they're 0 for 60. So, like, I mean, if your only goal for the season is to win a World Series, you go into every season with a very high likelihood of being massively disappointed. I mean, it's great to get to a World Series. I hope they get to one too. But, I mean, ultimately winning one is what's going to matter, right? Arizona getting to a World Series isn't exactly making the franchise history. Like, if Manny Machado gets to a World Series and doesn't win one, great. I mean, that's cool. Better than not making a World Series. But at the end of the day, you got to win one. But, I mean, I don't know. You blame whoever you want. But I don't think A.J. Preller's the culprit for the Padres being 0 for 60.
No, he's not. Just put together winning baseball teams. Like, just put together winning baseball teams. The goal is to win a World Series. It'd be massively disappointing if they don't even get to a World Series with these players under these big of a contracts on this team. Absolutely. My whole gripe with Preller was like, hey, can you be consistent? Are you going to ever, like put together a really good baseball team? Or were you going to have to, is your high watermark going to be 89 wins? And then this year he put together a really good baseball team. And he put together a team that won 93 games. Now, can you improve on that? Can you take what happened this past year, bottle that up, and turn it into two or three consecutive years where you are winning 90 plus games? Like, it's not,
maybe not,
maybe not, but it's not out of the
Maybe.
realm. It's not something I feel like is too much to ask for, right? Like, teams in baseball have won 90 plus games.
You got to also give someone the resources that are necessary. Like, the difference between the Padres and the Dodgers isn't solely wins and losses.
I know. And that was my take on Preller. And now it is along the lines of, it's hard for me to like fully criticize. I'll criticize him for sure still, but it's hard for me to like put all of this on him if it doesn't go right, when I know that the organization and the ownership group now cares more about the bottom dollar than they do about the on-field product.
Right. And that has nothing to do with Preller.
I know.
And that's why, like, when JD's third followed up, and thank you, he said, followed up by saying, so is he going to keep his job for another 10 years if they keep winning 93 games? Yeah, let me answer that. Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. He'll never go anywhere. If they average 93 wins over the next 10 seasons, they'll build a statue for him outside, dude. That's what they're going to end up doing. Retod, thank you for the super. Says, why does Trevor Bauer keep begging to join the team with his fake profiles? I have no idea, man. I really have no idea. He's not coming anywhere near Major League Baseball in 2025. Steve, thank you, man. He says the Padres will never win a World Series without Peter Sadler.
Okay.
I mean, you got to be careful with the ultimatum talk. Like, never. I mean, do we really know that?
They didn't win one with him.
Yeah, I know. That's the other thing. Like, I mean,
when they got close, they got to an NLCS. They were 3 wins away.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, man. I still don't know who to really put the Xander signing on.
True.
And it just is, man, would I love to see what this team would look like if Xander wasn't here.
It's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Like, what are the possibilities that this team could have if they did not have that awful contract.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, they'd be more well-rounded. It's like the Yankees without Juan Soto. We'll see at the end of 2025 if they're better off, so to speak, with what they've done
yeah,
without
we'll see.
Soto.
Yep, we'll see. I mean, if the Yankees go on to win the World Series next year and they have a more complete roster and all that stuff, like they went and got an all-star closer, an all-star pitcher, and an all-star center fielder for the price of like $45 million a year combined.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is some 2023 repeat, but I'm not assured that it's a 2024 repeat either, I guess is where I am right now. Because there's so much to be determined in the weeks and months ahead. Ritan, thank you. Says Padres are going to win the World Series. okay, in 2025. Perfect.
We're good.
Everything will be great, man. I hope they win the World Series. I mean, I really hope they do win the World Series. I mean, we get the most interest when the Padres are good. I mean, it's of no benefit to us when the Padres aren't good, and they've been very relevant for the last half decade. But I mean, anyone that, again, there's so much like I don't really understand. It's funny when like we're talking people off the ledge. I'm just saying I'm somewhere in between. Like this idea that, hey, they won 93 games last year, they're going to vie for the division and they're going to beat the Dodgers. I'm like, well, I don't see it. And then this idea that, well, AJ Preller hasn't won a World Series, therefore he needs to go. Like, what? I mean, isn't there like an in between here? Like, I don't think they're the World Series favorite. I don't think their GM needs to go. I think they've got financial issues. Let's see what the roster looks like March 27th and then make a determination on what their expectations are for 2025.
Yeah, if you ask me right now, my feeling on the Padres organization going forward for the next couple of years, I think my feeling would be like I'm cautiously optimistic, because this thing could go one of two ways really quickly, and really the other way could go quickly, which is they trade away players and they just go in a downward spiral, and their high-priced players don't perform, and Jackson Merrill was a one-hit wonder, and Tatis can never stay healthy, and like, but the other way it could go is they just continue to find a way to compete, continue to find a way. They're not going to make any splashy moves ever again. They're going to have to be this the savvy team as far as the moves they do to build a roster, and you're going to need your star players to contribute and perform like every year. And if that doesn't happen, then you're probably going to have a down year. Like if Jackson Merrill and Xander Bogaerts and Tatis is remains injured next year, like you're gonna have problems. If Michael King 100%. Doesn't have the season comparable that he had last year, like you're gonna have problems. So you're banking on, and like every team is, like your core guys to perform, right? If next year Aaron Judge ends up hitting 250 with 23 home runs, odds are the Yankees probably not going to be great next year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it helps when the players that you sign the big time contracts to like perform and do well. And that's the scariest part about going into next year. The absolute scariest part about going into next year, John, for me, is this team is relying on Xander Bogaerts to get back to his all-star level in Boston.
Yeah, I wouldn't be relying on that.
And if you don't think that, I mean, AJ, he said it after the end of the year. He said basically that verbatim is they expect Xander Bogaerts to put together like an all-star season.
Well, I mean, what other choice do they?
Ain't happening.
What other choice do they have but to hope for that? Considering he's owed 9 years of $280 million.
They have that's you're right.
And now
you have to.
And also, do I believe John Heyman when he reports that the Padres are listing on Xander Bogaerts? What does that even mean? I mean, I guess you could be listing on Xander Bogaerts if you also have an open checkbook for $200 million. Maybe not that much, but $100 million. So, like, I mean, is that even possible that another team has called on Xander Bogaerts? I mean, am I missing something that I just don't see how that's even possible with that contract in his 30s, coming off these 2 years in San Diego, that any team in baseball would be calling on Xander Bogaerts. I mean, what are we missing there? I just don't believe the validity of that.
It's when Preller's talking to teams about Cease. He goes, "Oh, by the way, what do you think of Xander?" And then it's like, hang up.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Like he's mentioning Xander to teams, but I mean, there's nothing there. Nothing there.
This is such a good point from El Romy. Thank you, man, for the super. I mean, listen, it sounds like all the discussion now about who would be traded between like a Cease or an Arise. It sounds like Cease would be more likely, but he makes an interesting point. Like if Arise leaves, runners in scoring position issues once again. I mean, they didn't have those problems last year. They were among the worst teams ever in the history of baseball in 2023. Arise flat out, I don't know if he just set the tone for that with the lineup because he hits the ball to all fields and was really good with men in scoring position and just a great all fields hitter. But they were a good hitting team with men in scoring position. They were not in 2023. And I mean, that's a reason alone to keep Luis Ariz because he does hit in those spots. Like he's not typical with the leadoff spot. He doesn't solely walk. He doesn't walk as much as he should, but with men on base, he does come through, and he did last year.
I would love if they go into next season with the top four of Luis Ariz, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, and Manny Machado. Like that's a really, really solid 1 through 4 in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Really solid. And if Xander can give you anything, Xander, like that's a good 1 through 5. Now, your 6 through 9 would be a little bit of an issue, because you're going to have to rely on who knows. But if they end up keeping Luis Ariz for next season, at least, that's a really good 1 through 4 that you can feel really confident in if they can stay healthy.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, and by the way, I mean, they still have Jake Cronenworth, but I have really no confidence that Jake Cronenworth's going to be anything other than a 240 hitter that hits maybe, 16, 17 home runs and has an OPS barely over 700.
Right. All right, let's get back to this conversation. If you're looking for that last-minute holiday gift, we have you covered with MOVA globes, all right? Pick one up before the holidays. You can still, if you order this in the next 24 hours, there are shipping options to get it to you. I want to say their ground shipping options are through, look at the website. Don't quote me on it, but you can get these globes by the holidays, okay? If you're celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is, you can get these globes by the holidays. So check out the shipping options. It is an amazing gift idea for a baseball fan. It really is. You're thinking about a loved one, family, friend, whomever. This is an amazing gift idea. And if you use promo code PWS10, PWS10, click the link in the description down below. You'll get to the website you see on screen. You're going to get 10% off. These globes spin automatically with natural or artificial light. They spin all day long, all night long with natural or artificial light. Amazing products, officially licensed, technology invented in Cardiff by the Sea here in North County. This company is based in San Diego. This is an amazing gift idea, not just for the Padres fan in your life, for the baseball fan in your life. They've got all 30 clubs. So pick them up for the holidays for 2025 with baseball season coming up in a couple of months and grab them right now. But remember to get 10% off. Use promo code PWS10.
Yeah, these things are a great gift. It's great for your office, great for a desk. I mean, if you want to show off some, how much you love the Padres at work, put this bad boy on your desk, and there you go. I mean, this is a great item for baseball fans, and it's a great gift as well. PWS10, use the promo code in the description below. Pick up a MOVA Globe today.
Yep, pick up a MOVA Globe again today. Great for the holidays, promo code PWS10. I mean, the thing with Cease is that you do have multiple baseball reporters that had some level of reporting on the Padres having an appetite to listen. Didn't mean that it was inevitable or coming in the near future. We both think that to move Dylan Cease, you have to have a feel for Roki Sasaki's future. Like if you land Sasaki, I mean, I would argue if you land Sasaki, keep Cease and just put all the chips in. Because now my rotation is that much deeper. But I understand the merits of, okay, now that we have Sasaki, let's part ways with Cease. Let's get the return. Let's free up the money. Let's use the money more wisely. And let's build a more complete roster a little bit like they did after trading Soto in 2024. But that's my thing on Cease. Like, if you want to listen on Cease, okay. Do I want to trade Dylan Cease away before I know what's going to happen with Roki Sasaki and then not land Roki Sasaki? That to me just sounds like an ill-fated idea in my head.
I don't think there will be any resolution on Dylan Cease's future before January 15th. I would be shocked if in the next couple of weeks they end up making a move with Dylan Cease. Shocked. before Roki Sasaki. That just it does no, it's not happening because you're running the risk of if you lose out on Roki Sasaki, you are screwed next season. Screwed. No way, no one ways about it. That's a real way to just throw a middle finger to your fan base. You know, you don't land a guy that all you do is talk about, and then you trade away one of your best pitchers for prospects. You know, I would be shocked if there's a resolution or any move with Dylan Cease before Roki Sasaki signs. Now, the interesting part is when there does become resolution on Roki Sasaki, and we do know where he's going to go, and then they do revisit the Dylan Cease movement. What's the market look like? How many of the top free agents have signed already? Who's desperate for somebody? And what type of deal and what type of package could he get in return? Is it just top prospects in an organization? Is it one? Is it two? Can you find a team that can give you major league talent right now? Because if you trade Dylan Cease for prospects that won't be ready for another 2 years minimum, that ain't helping next year's team. The great thing about the Juan Soto trade, you got like 4-5 major league players ready to go right now. And then you use Drew Thorpe to get Dylan Cease. So like every single one of the players in the Juan Soto deal helped you last year. How many of the players in the Dylan Cease trade, if that does happen, are going to help you next season?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get at least one plus out of that.
At least
one. Yeah, but it's 1 year control. He's not Soto, obviously. I mean, your point's really valid. I mean, I think you got to be willing to potentially settle's the wrong word, but you got to be thinking about both 2025 and the future if you're trading Dylan Cease. You're not getting all pieces that are helping you immediately, would be my guess. You're not going to get 3 guys back that are on your major league team.
But can you get one?
If you get 3 back and one of them is a starter, a regular, a position player for your major league team, plus 2 of them are prospects that might see the field at some point in 2025 and 2026, I think you might have to be content with something like that. Because consider this too, Jim. If that's the trade where you get one position player, let's say with a low salary, and you've just freed up like whatever Cease is owed in 2025, let's say $14 million.
Yeah.
So let's say you took on $2 million of salary with the position player. You freed up 14. Now you're plus 12. And now you can use that 12 to go out and do what? Yeah. Resign Jurickson Profar, sign a back-end starter, probably not. You know, handle the catching spot, although I don't think there's a lot out there. You get the point. I mean, you can address things with the money. Bullpen, back of your rotation, left field. So I think the fact that you can free up money plus get a return, it's something that they should at least probably listen on. HBBBV, thank you, man, for the super chat. He says, Mrs. Arise said Petco her favorite ballpark on her live. Oh, well then.
Oh, that's great. Oh, signed a big time deal.
Yeah, then whole lifetime deal.
Do you think?
I hope he stays. I think he probably will.
If you told me right now that Preller could somehow package, just hear me out, Dylan Cease with Jake Cronenworth,
right?
Regardless of what you were gotten in return, would you make that move?
I'm never a big fan of like making a second bad move because I made a bad move.
What do you mean? Oh,
because you're basically unloading a bad Cronenworth deal for a good player in Dylan Cease.
But what if you are okay? Dylan Cease, Jake Cronenworth, but you do get, like, you know, a major league player, a mid-tier prospect, and then another like lower level prospect that you hope that you can turn into a guy that can contribute with your team one day.
Yeah, I like that conceptually. Do you get that if you're taking on that Cronenworth money? I mean, it's not crazy money, but
can you pay a little bit of it though? Like, can you work it out and maybe
you pay some of it down? I don't know if they're going to have an appetite for that, man. They paid down the Hosmer thing for no reason, right? They wrote a check to Boston for no reason. They got some prospect that never panned out, whatever his name was.
No idea who it is. Who was.
You know what I'm talking about? The starter. He's
Anderson Espinoza.
No. In the
Drew Pomeranz.
No. More recently, He was in AAA for like 5 years. He was still there for Graham, something with a G.
Graham Pauly?
No. Pitcher, starting pitcher that they got for Hosmer. Someone put in the chat. We're waiting. You know what I'm talking about. He's been in AAA for the last like 3 years. He's made like 2 appearances in the big leagues.
With the team?
Yeah. Who did the Padres try? I'm not even going to look it up. Who did the Padres trade for Eric Hosmer? The day they traded Soto for Soto.
Jay Groom.
I said Graham. Yeah. Jay Groom. But they ate money for him.
Okay.
And he didn't. I don't know. My point is yeah, you free up a lot of money if you get rid of Cronenworth and Cease. But I don't know. Will that make them better?
I'm just kind of thinking can you kill 2 birds with 1 stone here? Can you get something that can help you next year and also get rid of a bad contract that, for a guy that's just not getting any better, like he's just declining every single year.
Right. No, I mean, it's an interesting conversation. Can you tie Cease to someone?
The only person I could see it would be if you were going to try, it would be Cronenworth, because he's not that $250 million contract. He's the $70 million contract.
I mean, the other thing is, would you trade Robert Suarez?
I would look at that, yes.
And keep Dylan Cease. Because now the money is comparable.
I would definitely look at that. I would 100% look at that, because I think Jason Adam is perfectly capable of being this team's closer next year, or Jeremiah Estrada. And you have other pieces in the bullpen that I really like. The end of the year did concern me with with Robert Suarez. He had a good postseason. He didn't really pitch much, but when he was out there, he was really good. But
right,
I mean, dude, the second half, dude, was awful. And it's are you going to develop a second pitch or not? Because if you aren't, then yeah, we're going to look to trade you.
That's right. We did spend a lot of time.
And this might be the only time you can get top value for a guy coming off of a career year in Robert Suarez, and not run the risk of it backfiring on you. And he goes into next year and he still hasn't figured out a second pitch, and his fastball is still getting blown up.
I mean, I think the guy is very, very good. I agree with you on the secondary pitches, and he's also making a lot of money. And AJ's proven he's been able to have effective closers for less than what he paid Robert Suarez. So
he can find a closer anytime he wants.
Yeah, so it's something to at least consider. JD's third, thank you again, man. He says, AJ needs to make moves, and thinking Roki is gravy. Can't put all eggs into that basket. Roki is extra, not the main feature for 2025. Develop Roki. Yeah, that's probably accurate. I don't think this guy's some savior in 2025. I don't think he's winning 18 games.
He's not a savior.
But I think he's not as a nice piece. I think he's arguably a key piece for their future if they land him.
And by the way, if they don't land him, they're not going to be sitting there at Petco Park being like, oh, shucks. They're going to be devastated if they do not land this guy.
And they should have a plan in place right now for if they do or don't land him.
I bet you that that's probably the Cease move.
Yeah.
Maybe, hey, this is our plan B. I don't know, but yeah. And maybe it's not, because if you don't get Sasaki, then trading Cease even makes less sense if you're trying to compete next year.
That's our theory, right?
But
that's why Roki allows you to it's basically like a get out of jail free card, because it takes all your bad contracts. Look at this great one though. He makes $1 million a year.
One of the best values in the sport.
In baseball. Yeah.
Along with Paul Skeens and
or even Jerks and Profile.
Jackson Merrill, Profile from last year. You're right.
Yeah.
So,
but again, you're asking a lot to actually land them. Maybe they do. Maybe they got that ace up their sleeve. But again, it's asking a good amount. To JD's third point, to put your eggs in that basket, man, we got to land them. What if you don't?
Well, I think their eggs are all in the basket of trying to land him.
Sure. Agreed.
That is their number one priority this offseason, as far as moves to improve your roster goes, is to land Roki Sasaki. But as it is, there is contingency plans for everything. It's not like he's saying it's Roki or bust. I mean, I kind of feel like it is a little bit from my perspective, like looking at the team from an outside perspective of like, man, if they don't get Roki, the path is going to be difficult. Especially if he goes to the Dodgers, like that's the problem. Or if he goes to the Mets, or if he goes to the Giants, like you're like, okay, 2 division rivals, and then another team that is trying to get on even footing with the Dodgers.
Can you imagine if there was a series like I haven't even looked at the schedule, but in April next year, and they throw Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki at you? These 3 Asian superstars that they've acquired in the last year plus.
Or even if they just ended up doing like Ohtani, Blake Snell, Sasaki.
Well, I know all of it is concerning, even without Sasaki.
Ohtani, Glasnow, Snell.
Sasaki, Yamamoto, May.
Yeah. Shit.
I mean, it's yeah. Again, they got to stay healthy. They got to be effective, but it's concerning. JD's third thank you says Cease's 200 innings, sub-3 ERA, hard to replace.
Yeah,
but he didn't have 200 innings last year or sub-3 ERA.
That's Michael King that had a sub-3 ERA, but did not have 200 plus innings. How many pitchers had 200 plus innings in baseball last year?
Not like what, 5 in baseball, maybe?
If that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's capable of maybe being a 200 plus inning guy. He's capable of having a sub-3 ERA. Has he ever had a sub-3 ERA? His Cy Young second that year he finished second. Yeah. So
let me ask this quick question about Cease. Does his performance in the postseason last year at all give you any pause as to like you got to keep him, or like because of that, like you got to trade him now?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's something to talk about. I think that's fair, but no. And yeah, he was ineffective, but no, I wouldn't part ways with him because of what happened over 2 starts in October.
But his postseason numbers
1 start, right? 2 starts.
2 starts. He was awful. Like awful. If he just gave you anything in game 4, maybe they win. But again, they don't score any runs, so it doesn't matter. And then game 1 was just, why the fuck are you pitching to Ohtani? Like, what are we doing?
100%. 100%. I mean, but I don't know. Is that enough of a sample size?
Well, it's not just, I mean, I think he's pitched in the postseason before.
Or so he did 2020 and 2021, but like an inning each time.
Okay. But still, like, we've seen he's not a short rest guy. He was awful in short rest.
That was terrible.
Terrible. I mean, you acquired Dylan Cease to be an ace, and in game 1 against the Dodgers, and one of the most important games of your season in franchise history, like you lay an egg.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, that gives me a little pause for sure. But also, to get to that point, you need a guy like Dylan Cease. Like you're not even there without Dylan Cease at all. So it's a yin and a yang. Like you need that guy, you need that horse in the regular season to get to that point. And without him, if you say, well, his postseason numbers are shit, and I didn't really like what he did last year, and the guy, stunk up the joint on 3 days rest in game 4 and sucked in game 1, and if Dylan Cease was better, we would have probably gone to the World Series, maybe. Okay, well, you're not even in that position without him in the first place. So if you trade him, maybe you don't get back to that point.
I don't know. I mean, I could be convinced either way on Cease right at this exact moment. I mean, my first instinct is don't move him, but that was my instinct, obviously, with Juan Soto. But I could be convinced more one way or the other, depending on what other moves they make or don't make this offseason. The postseason stuff was disappointing. There's no question about it, but I don't know if that means he's not capable of putting it together in a postseason. I don't know.
Yeah, every player I'm hesitant to move until I see what the actual return is, if that said player was moved. Like I was hesitant on Juan Soto. At the time, I was like, the fuck? Are you serious? And then it turned out to be great, and I was wrong. So the same thing with Dylan Cease. Like, do I want to move him right now? No. But if they do move him, got to know what the return is, and then we'll see what that return does in 2025. And if it helps the team out for a long-term period, that's great. Like if the Padres hopefully keep Michael King for a long-term past that next year. That's great. It almost feels like because the Yankees, like I saw like the last, 3 or 4 years, every team that had Juan Soto on it, like what they ended up getting, like the Padres got, King and Higgy
Right.
and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
the Nationals got all the prospects from the Padres, right? And then, the Mets, they end up landing Juan Soto, and the Yankees, out of this whole entire deal, end up keeping Trent Grisham. Like, that's what they're left with.
Yeah,
that's what they're left with.
Yeah, and of course, by not signing Soto, though, they freed up all that money to just go out on a spending spree. But
and they made a World Series, and that's
the Yankees got what they wanted. They got to a World Series. I think the Padres got some of what they wanted, which was a really good season and a successful, disappointing postseason because you lose the Dodgers, but it's not like it was some awful year last year for the Padres either.
Yeah.
All right, I do want to remind our viewers, especially this time of year, this weekend, by the way, this isn't the one. This weekend is utter insanity if you're a football fan, right?
Oh my gosh.
College football playoff, the NFL's got the full Saturday slate. There's the Thursday slate. I want to say the Chargers play Thursday. There's Sunday, and then there's Monday night. This is the time to sign up for Underdog Fantasy if you haven't done it. I mean, it's really incredible. If you use promo code PODSWRAP, that's PADSWRAP, they'll give you a gimme first pick on these pick'ems, the simple higher or lower. The gimme first pick, what do I mean by that? It's Patrick Mahomes over a half passing attempt or Saquon Barkley over a half rush yard, right? So, I mean, they're giving you a free pick. All you have to do is pair it with one other higher or lower, and you can win. Plus, you'll get 50% deposit match on your first deposit if you use promo code PODSWRAP, PADSWRAP, by clicking the link in the description down below. In addition to that, you can win up to 1,000 times your money in a single night. You heard us right. Up to 1,000 times your money. Turn $1 into $1,000, $10 into $10,000. And we have had some big wins over the course of 2024. So again, NFL, college, NBA, NHL, baseball around the corner in 2025. Sign up today at Underdog, win big, get the 50% promo with promo code PODSWRAP, PADSWRAP, and get the gimme first pick as well with promo code PODS, PADSWRAP, WRAP.
The QR code right there. Scan it. Download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use promo code PODSWRAP. Ready to go. This weekend, man, you could just sit there on your couch and play Underdog Fantasy all day long because there are a million things happening in sports on Saturday. A million. Like a million.
Like 1 million.
Like everything is happening Saturday.
Like you got Chiefs games, and you have Steelers games, and you have college football playoff games. I mean, you have games that you watch
basketball games. You have NBA games.
Yeah.
You have NHL games. Like everything but baseball is on Saturday.
No baseball?
Unless they decide to come back and play a random game in December.
Yeah, I would like that. I would like that a lot. Let's do a Winter Classic. Kick off the season with a Winter Classic.
I like that.
On Christmas Day. All right, guys, join us tomorrow on San Diego Sports 760.
Join me tomorrow. John's not going to be there.
Yeah, I'm traveling tomorrow, but join Jim. He's got you covered 2 to 6. I'm sure there'll be a breaking Padres. I hope there is, man, for you.
Dude.
I hope there's a big Padres move tomorrow or Thursday or Friday or all the days.
I'm saying this right now. If AJ Preller makes a move tomorrow, before the show,
will you go longer? Will you go 5 hours?
I won't criticize him for the next year.
Yes, you will. You idiot.
No.
You'll criticize him in 24 hours.
No. You make a move tomorrow, AJ, before the show or even during the show, early on, bro, immune from criticism for the 2025 season for me.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Make a move,
Here's
bro.
the thing. Make a move.
I'm killing you. Crushing
Here's
you.
the thing. If you want AJ to make a move, subscribe to this channel. All right.
Yeah.
Whether you're here live or on replay, subscribe to this channel. We have to get to 8,000 subscribers by the start of the regular season. And if we don't, this channel turns into a Milwaukee Bucks Emirates NBA Cup channel in 2025. So subscribe to the channel. Year-round content for Padres fans. Please subscribe. We are here for you in season and out of season. We appreciate you guys. And again, we're back tomorrow on the radio, 2 to 6, San Diego Sports 760. And then the next time there's news, we'll have it for you, of course, here on the wrap-up show as well. So subscribe, smash the like button, follow us on X, at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. And thank you for the super chats and the super thanks if you're here on replay. And thank you for those that are members as well. Happy holidays. Be safe. And someone check on the Padres. Make sure that they're still around. Make a move, please, for Jim.